Hello, I'm Richard Gadd, and my national treasure is The Office, the UK version.
Oh, stapler. Well, don't do that. Well, eat it out. There's people starving in the world, which I hate.
I grew up on the UK Office. It was almost my sort of entry point into sort of comedy, into television, into the kind of world that I now work in. Incredibly perfect in terms of its kind of slice of British UK life. I think it's moving, I think it's fantastically written, fantastically performed. It's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I watched it when I was young. I was obsessed with it, and I researched into this Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant guy. I found out that they'd written it, they were in it, they produced it, all this stuff, and I thought that's what I want to do with my life.
We'll kick off with your leader, David Brent. David, if you'd like to come up here. Big round of applause for David.
No. I'm cheating, really. I've done this before.
David Brent's definitely my favourite character from I think he's the greatest comedy character of all time. Basil Fawlty's up there, Alan Partridge, Delboy Trotter, all these people, Fleabag, David Brent pips it for me. It's because it's so real. It's like he's tragic, he's hilarious, he's fundamentally human, and I think a lot of comedy characters forget that. I think all the best comedy characters, including Alan Partridge, Basil Fawlty, they're all fundamentally flawed human beings, but they're recognisable human beings. And I think that's what makes them so effective as comedy characters. But David Brent, he wants to be famous, but he's stuck in a kind of middle management position, and he plays up to the cameras, but he's fundamentally like a very, very sort of like lost individual. It's so real. It's so perfectly pitched.
Yeah. Well, why am I getting fired?
You're not getting fired, it's redundancy, as I say. It's nothing personal. It's cutbacks being what they are. You are one of the unlucky ones. Or one of the lucky ones, in my opinion.
An iconic David Brent line. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the mind always goes to the dance, because the dance is so iconic. I think of the more moving moments, because that's when David Brent surprises you, and I think that's when it transcends almost comedy and becomes something else. When he begs for his job back, for example, at the end of the series, he says, "Please don't make me redundant." I mean, that's such a powerful moment, and then it's upended by the fact he gets up and he has to go down. He's got the kind of he's raising money for charity, and he's got the big sort of duck outfit on. I mean, it's just so well pitched.
Again, thanks very much, David. Don't make me redundant. Please.
There's that stuff. There's when he tells Chris Finch to F off, these really, really powerful moments. And then when he's doing the impression of Alan Hitchmo, I don't agree with that in the workplace. I could quote until the cows come home, but yeah, it's all brilliant. I watch it every Christmas. I watch the UK Office every single Christmas, and I treat myself, because I think it's a fundamentally Christmas show as well. It ends at the with that Only You and Tim and Dawn kind of walking off into the sunset together, and so it reminds me of Christmas. You've got the Christmas specials, and so every single Christmas I watch season 1, episode 1, all the way through to the 2 Christmas specials, and I cry every single time. I know what's coming. It doesn't change anything. It's still as powerful and as affecting as it was however many years ago. I think obviously it comes under criticism for its banter. I think that's expressed from Tim. They make fun of Gareth, Tim and Dawn. They have a lot of sort of homophobic innuendo, and obviously I think in this day and age that kind of wouldn't fly. At the same time, I think it was an encapsulation of the time and the kind of like ignorance that existed at the time The Office was filmed. And I think in a lot of ways it's actually very indicative of that kind of small town, kind of small-minded sort of banter that did exist back then. So I know it comes under criticism for those kinds of jokes, but in a way I actually think it adds to the satire. It adds to the fact that kind of small-minded ignorance existed in workplaces around Britain at that time. So I actually think it's quite historically accurate as well in that respect.
UK or US Office?
UK Office, without question. UK Office. Love the US Office, but the UK Office it's pitch perfect, frame by frame perfect.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry, mate. Excuse me.
What are you doing?
English?
What do I say to people who prefer the US Office? That you're wrong. No, the US Office is brilliant. Like we're comparing like a 9 out of 10 to a 10 here. I think somewhere along the way with the US Office, it stopped becoming a kind of a sort of workplace sitcom. I felt that the UK Office always stayed loyal to the mockumentary style, and I think you always bought that you were looking at real life. The US Office definitely evolved into almost a more sitcom. Like I think by the time they were dancing up and down church aisles and I think cutting off the faces of mannequin dolls, it had transcended into a brilliant but very different proposition to the UK office. So they can't really be compared almost in a way. But I would say that the US office definitely kind of left the kind of realistic mockumentary style to a certain degree, and sort of morphed into something very different. So it's very hard to compare. But I think the UK office, for what it did, for the way it stayed loyal to the style, I think trumps the US one for me.
You've thought about this?
Yes, I certainly have. I've had these debates many times with people. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm love on the hot love highway, ain't going home 'cause my baby's gone. She's not dead.
Do you have an episode that comes to mind about UK Office?
I mean, it's hard not to point to the Free Love on the Free Love Freeway, which I know off by heart and can play on guitar, but that is such a amazing. Even thinking about it, I can't even quote it because I'm worried it's not going to be able to be put on social media. But when they're trying to phase each other, the guy who comes in and he does the speech, he's like, "I think there's been a," and he says the most outrageous thing that really throws the guy who's taking the workshop.
I got his attention. Get their attention.
It's just really brilliantly done, and he says there is no that number of the hotel in this building. Some of the complaints will be false. This is only going to make sense to people who have seen it. I love talking about it. I could do this all day. I honestly could. But that episode is probably my favorite. That and the final Christmas special. When I was ended, I was happy because I do think a lot of television outstays its welcome a little bit. I think one thing that show did is it ended at the right time. It ended at the absolute zenith of its power, and I think that a lot of TV shows they go on a few seasons too long. I know a lot of criticism levied at the US offices that it perhaps stayed on a few seasons too long. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think the UK office left no room for debate in that respect. I think that the UK office, you cannot say it finished too late or too early or anything. It finished absolutely perfect.
If you want the rainbow, you've got to put up with the rain. Do you know which philosopher said that? Dolly Parton. Yeah.
The first memory I have of The Office, I remember I used to sit with a friend of mine called Dave Mitchell, not the Dave Mitchell, he had the same name as the actual Dave Mitchell. And we would sit and we would compete who we would go through The Office from season 1, episode 1, and we would go through until one of us got one of the lines wrong, and we would get deep into the series before one of us got the lines wrong. It was very much a part of my childhood and very much a bonding moment with me and my best mate, Dave, who I'm actually best man for at his wedding this year. So and we grew up in The Office. That's what brought us kind of together, and I've known him my entire life. I wouldn't like The Office to come back because I think it was brilliant left as is. I think sometimes when things return at such a late stage, it's for the wrong reasons, like it's for commercial reasons. The Office at the time, it was an artistic venture, and it was a fantastic one for that. And I wouldn't want to know what those characters are up to now. I'd rather hope that they're all living blissfully happy in their worlds with their respective people. I hope Tim and Dawn have kids and are doing all that stuff. So I don't really want to. I would rather believe than be told, if that makes sense.
Careful, she's got a fiance.
Yeah, I think I have a fragrant mistrust of people who don't like the UK Office. It almost becomes like a mad blockade in our friendship. But if they haven't seen it, I'm always like, well, you got to see it. And I remember every relationship I think I've ever been in, I've been like, you've got to watch this show, and I've sort of almost held them at gunpoint to what I obviously haven't done that, but almost made them watch it. I think the UK Office is the greatest sitcom of all time. I also think it's one of the greatest dramas of all time. I think it blends. I think it's the most truest example of comedy and drama put together on a television screen that's ever existed. I think it shows the power of comedy in a way, because I challenge anybody to find a scene or a storylines from a drama that is as powerfully affecting as some of the more serious ones in The Office. I think it bridges comedy and drama perfectly. I think the characters are great. I think the characters are interesting. I think it all is a recognizable world that everyone can relate to. Most people have been in an office. Most people have worked in an office. They can really relate to it. They can relate to the mockumentary style. I think weirdly, I've always thought if aliens contacted Earth and asked each country to send something that was indicative of the country that you're in, that sums up how that country is, I think you put The Office DVDs in a little capsule and you send it up to space, because I think it is the perfect microcosm of UK life.
There we go. That's more than enough.
Thank you so much. I'm going to talk.